The young girl's breath was heavy, and her lungs begged her to rest, if only for a few seconds. She couldn't. To do so would ensure a fate worse than death. Despite the fire burning in her legs and the aching of her bare feet as they slapped against the pavement, Sarah abided by 2 words echoing in her mind. Keep moving. Pedestrians filled the streets, each of them carrying on with their day. In a way, this worked in Sarah's favor. It would be harder to spot her among the crowds with more people around. But this also meant anyone who Sarah couldn't easily maneuver around quickly became acquainted with the sidewalk. She could hear the people around her talking, but the incessant beating of her heart drowned out their words. It was a stark contrast. Her and the townsfolk. The monotony of their daily lives droned on as Sarah desperately clung to her first taste of freedom in 5 years. Tattered rags hung off her body, barely held together by an equally frayed rope, and exposing various parts of her sandy brown skin to the spring air. Despite this, Sarah was burning up as if she were in winter furs. 20 minutes of nonstop running was beginning to take its toll. The back of her skull pulsed with a dull ache, and she felt lightheaded. Looking ahead, she spotted a dumpster in the alley across the street. Her heart felt as if it would burst from her chest at any moment, but the guards surely weren't that far behind. She shook her head and rounded the corner, knocking over another pedestrian. Sarah ignored the woman's cries and pressed onward. Soon she'd be at the town port, and that much closer to securing her freedom. Sarah stepped into the street. A horn blared, followed by the screech of rubber struggling to grip the asphalt. She turned her head to find a vehicle speeding toward her. In her haste to escape her pursuers, she hadn't noticed the oncoming traffic. The vehicle was small and compact, but it was still several times larger than she. Sarah had no time to move out of the way. She could do nothing but cringe, braced for the incoming impact. As the vehicle struck her, jagged blue lines glowed upon her skin. The car wrapped around her body with a metallic crunch, as if it had hit a steel beam, rather than a scrawny 10-year-old girl. Smoke billowed from under the folded hood, and glass scattered in the street. Sarah looked around. The car was totaled, and the driver out cold. Or perhaps he was dead. A crowd of people began forming around her.
"Somebody call the saviors!"
a man shouted as he tried to pull the driver's door open to no avail. Sarah's eyes widened. If the saviors found her, it would all be over. They'd turn her in for sure, and she wouldn't be able to keep the promise she had made to Cyril.
"You little rat,"
another man said, approaching Sarah, contempt burning in his eyes. Sarah winced as he took hold of her curly, licorice-colored hair.
"Look at all the damage you've caused." "Don't let her go,"
a third man shouted. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She turned around as best she could. There they were, covered in armored plating and equipped with automatic rifles. The guards from the mine had caught up to her. In a matter of moments, they'd capture her. After the stunt she had pulled, she'd surely never see the light of day again. They'd keep her locked away, forcing her to mine gemstones for the rest of her life. "No!" Sarah shouted. She concentrated all her effort into her arm. Her body began to glow with jagged red lines, and she pushed the man holding her,